you got a new brush video. Hello everyone, Kayla here, and this is What the Kink, a natural hair channel. And in this video, I am bringing you, finally, a detangling brush video. I have the Curly Hair Solutions Curl Keeper brush, and the Flexi brush specifically is the name of it. And then this is the Denman Power Paddle in the rose gold color because of the rose gold crown on the back. You guys have spotted the brush. I had this brush in the background drying because that's what I do after I wash my hair. And someone was like, "Oh, you got a new brush video." But of course I had just gotten the brush at that time. So I was like, nah, sis, I'm not gonna make a video. And then of course, around that same time, I also acquired this brush, which I know a lot of people really, really like this brush. And so I used each of them for a period of time so that I could, you know, make this comparison video. Now, also in this comparison video, I'm also going to make comparisons to the wet brush. I know that my channel put a lot of people onto the wet brush. So it is a brush that I still recommend. I still like the wet brush. Just because you don't see it in my recent videos doesn't mean that I don't like it anymore. So of course I am going to make a comparison to that as well. And I think I will link some of my other videos that talk about the wet brush. So first thing about the wet brush that I like so much so that I can compare it to these particular brushes. The thing that I like so much about the wet brush is that it was the first detangling tool that I brought back into my regimen after I stopped finger detangling. I used to get these like locks on my hair that would like slide out at one time, and it was just ridiculous when I only finger detangled. So I brought a tool back, and the wet brush was the tool that I used. And so it was really the first brush that I used that made my detangling so quick and easy. And I guess it kind of dispelled the myths that I had heard about not being able to use a brush healthily on natural hair. So there's that. There are two drawbacks to using the wet brush though, depending on how you feel about things. First of all, the wet brush is very, very flexible. Okay, so it has a very flexible cushion, and the actual bristles on the brush are very, very, very flexible. And so because of that, they do eventually bend out of shape. They may even come out and that kind of thing. And that's actually why I don't have a wet brush to show you, because I had owned two wet brushes in the past, and each one I owned for about a year before that happened. So the wet brush is in a way a disposable brush. You will have to replace it frequently. The second thing that could be a con for some people, but not really for me, is that the wet brush has balls on the very end of the bristles. And so if you have that really tight coil pattern that goes all the way around, you know, looking like a head full of pin springs, your hair could get caught on those, which could cause you more frustration than the ease of using a wet brush, right? Thankfully for me, I don't have hair that is as tight. I do have type 4 hair, and my hair is wet right now because I just came off of washing it. But my hair is more of a kinky wave, and so I don't have that issue with my hair wrapping around that. But those are two things that could be drawbacks for using the wet brush. So enter the Denman D38 Power Paddle. And as you notice first off, that this brush does not have those little tips on the end. So if you have that that kinky hair that actually coils all the way around, then you're not going to get your hair caught on this. Second thing, this brush is going to last longer because it is, though the cushion is very flexible, you hear that noise, the cushion is flexible, but these bristles are more firm. If you own a Denman brush, then you know how these are kind of a little bit more, I hate to use the word stiff because stiff is kind of a negative word, but these are a little bit more stiff in the style of your normal Denman brush if you own the other Denman brushes that are popular in the natural hair community. So you're not going to have to replace this as much as you would. So those two things are eliminated for people who might have those issues. Now, I find that I detangle with this actually very, very well. This glides through my hair. I'm gonna have some footage of me brushing through my hair with this. And it's a really, really light brush. extremely light. I was surprised at how light this was. Like I picked it up, it felt like, I was like, is this a real brush? It's extremely light. That no one said that in any of the videos that I watched on the brush, or maybe they said it and I just wasn't paying attention well enough. But it's extremely light. The handle feels like I could snap it in half, but I can't. And honestly, I have very long, skinny fingers. It's not playing off well on camera, but my fingers are very long and skinny. So me holding this paddle, nah, that's team too much. So I don't, because it's me wrapping my hands all the way around this joint just about to be able to brush my hair. So I hold it here. And then of course, as you guys have seen in my detangling routine that I put out a couple years ago, I do hold the brush vertically because it makes it glide through the hair easier. It's something about the way the bristles align. You see how they line in perfect lines when you hold it this way, but when you hold it this way, they're not in perfect rows. And so I detangle like this. So yeah, all in all, I think this is a really great option. And I think that it can replace the wet brush. So sad, that's bae. But honestly, this is gonna last longer than the wet brush. Also, you know what? Considering the fact that it's gonna last longer, let me pull up the price for this one. This is actually $33.95, so it's not a cheap brush either, because I know somebody gonna be in the comments, it's expensive, but okay, but you're not gonna buy one every year like you buying a wet brush every year. I'm just saying. Okay, so let's get on to the Flexi brush. All right. So this one is an interesting one, okay? So the Flexi brush, this one is the Curl Keeper Flexi brush. So Curl Keeper, Curly Hair Solutions, they make hair products. You may have heard of them if you follow the curly hair world. Like I actually do watch videos in the curly hair world too. This brush is very popular in that space, and it is from that brand. But there is actually a copy of this brush. I think it's by Philips, and it's like called the Philips Flexi brush, and it's the same brush. So I don't know if it's the same quality or anything like that. And I don't know if it's cheaper, but this particular brush costs, it's not cheap either, y'all. This is a $21 brush if you get it directly from the Curl Keeper website. Curl Keeper does have an Amazon store, and then there's just other stores on Amazon that also sell this brush or copies of this brush. So first thing off the bat, this has the flexibility. First of all, I did not know it was hollow in the back like this. So again, maybe I just wasn't paying attention. But this has the flexibility of the wet brush. These are very, let me see. There you go. These are very, very flexible. I'm already noticing some of them kind of staying splayed out. Okay. This is absolutely hollow. And then this has like a rim around it as well. So I do find that whenever I finish brushing my hair with this, it is retaining water somewhere. So I have to shake the brush out a bit, like I turn it every which way and shake it out before I put it away to dry. It is definitely holding water in it. The handle is a little bit bigger than the Denman, so you can put your hand on here, but again, like I still have these long skinny fingers, so I hold this one by the top as well, but it's a little harder because it's hollow on the inside here. Also, another note about this is that this brush head, I don't know if this is showing it well, this brush head is bigger than this one, okay? So if you're someone who has long or thick hair, the bigger the paddle on the brush, the more surface area can be brushed at once, so you don't have to go over your hair as much and stuff, you know what I mean? So I do like that this is bigger than the Denman because I do have a lot of hair, as you can see. As far as brushing it through, I think it's really great. It's about on the level of the Denman. The only thing is that I find that I get less hair out with this brush. And so when I go back to like twist my hair after I have brushed through with this, I find that there is a little bit of hair on my hands. So it's the shed hair that's not being pulled out by this, and I think it's because it is a more flexible brush. And honestly, I've only owned this for maybe like 2 months or so, but I do believe that eventually I would have to repurchase this brush just like I would have to repurchase a wet brush. So you're paying a lot of money, but this brush is probably not going to last as long. So I think they're both really great options. I think that they both have improvements over the wet brush, just because neither one of them have the little balls on the ends. And then of course this one with the more stiff bristles, But if you really like wet brush, you like the flexibility of the wet brush, do not get this because this is more of a firm brush. Get this one because it is more flexible and doesn't have those bald tips on the end there. And then of course it is a really big paddle. I have not tried the wet brush paddle because eventually if I stayed with the wet brush brand, I was going to get the paddle eventually because I have so much hair. But I do like that this is bigger as well. So you kind of just have to weigh your options as to what's important to you. What do you even care about when it comes to your brushes? You know what I mean? But listen, if you like brush comparison videos, girl, I got more of them. I have like 2 others. I will link to these 2 videos here. And of course, I did do links throughout the video. And those links will also be in the eye that you can click and access any of those videos if you would rather watch those. Subscribe to my channel. I post videos every week. And I will be on your subscriptions page. I'll talk to you in the next one.